Good evening. The government is urging the public to be alert as Super Typhoon Mangkhut approaches the territory. According to the observatory, the chance of issuing the number 8 signal on Sunday is high. Caleb Leung begins our storm coverage.
The government is on high alert as Mangkhut nears Hong Kong. This afternoon, Secretary for Security John Lee led government officials as they give an update on the super typhoon and the preparatory work. The observatory says there is a high chance of issuing the number 8 signal this weekend.
Mangkhut is expected to be closest to Hong Kong on Sunday, probably during the day or in the later part of Sunday. From present indications that the chance that we need to issue the number 8 signal is very high.
The security chief urged the public to be alert.
This is a super typhoon which is going to come very fast. So there will be very short time from typhoon number 3 to go up to number 8, and whether it will go up to even higher, the precautionary measure should be taken as if this is the highest level.
Drains across the territory have been taken care of. The Drainage Services Department dispatched 250 staff to inspect 150 easily clogged drainages in the city. According to the observatory, the outer subsiding air of Mangkhut is bringing very hot weather to Guangdong. But as the super typhoon edges closer, the weather is expected to deteriorate significantly on Sunday. Weather will be adverse with storm surges, while sea levels will be high. Winds will moderate gradually later on Monday, but there will still be heavy squally showers. Macau is expecting to hoist the typhoon signal number 1 tomorrow morning and the signal number 3 by nighttime. The Macau government says the city's bottled water inventory is adequate and will be transported to different retailers across the city. Caleb Leung, TVB News.
Meanwhile, preparations are underway ahead of the super typhoon. The chief executive says officials are doing everything they can to help residents in low-lying areas. Here's Pinky Wong with that story.
Home Affairs Department officials, along with volunteers, visited people living in various low-lying areas. They encouraged those in flood-prone neighborhoods to evacuate ahead of Super Typhoon Mangkhut. For the first time, coaches will be arranged to evacuate Tai O residents to safety.
The deployment of coaches is a special arrangement. In the past few years, we haven't used this method before, and this is because of the special situation of Tai O.
Officials are targeting some 400 Tai O residents living in stilt houses to help them to temporary shelters. Even though Tai O is often flooded, this lady said she isn't afraid as she is used to having typhoons hitting the area, and she will move to higher ground when the flood hits. For other high-risk areas like Lei Yue Mun, a large-capacity sports center will be used as a temporary shelter. Chief Executive Carrie Lam says the government is taking every step to prepare the city for the typhoon and mitigate the damage.
We have a duty as a government to make all the necessary preparations. The preparations include mobilizing all the relevant departments to take precautionary measures.
When the strong wind signal number 3 takes effect, more than 40 temporary shelters will be opened. The government's Emergency Monitoring and Support Center will also be activated. Residents are reminded to take precautionary measures and stay indoors when the storm hits. Pinky Wong, TVB News.
The same super typhoon headed to Hong Kong is expected to hit the Philippines first. With 4 million people living in high-risk areas, a massive evacuation is underway. Jameson Wong with details.
High winds and rains are already lashing coastal towns in the northern Philippines. Super Typhoon Mangkhut is on course to make landfall farther south and closer to Isabela Province. Warnings have been raised in 25 provinces across the main northern island of Luzon, restricting sea and air travel. Authorities have evacuated more than 9,000 people to safer ground.
Prior to the arrival of the heavy rains that will trigger the flood or the strong wind that will trigger the storm surge, they need to be evacuated. So they need to prepare for preemptive evacuation.
An estimated 5.2 million residents living in the path of the typhoon, known commonly as Ompong, were warned to stay indoors. Weather experts believe it will be the country's most powerful typhoon this year. They say the storm's winds and gusts are equivalent to a Category 5 Atlantic hurricane. Destructive storm surges are expected to reach as high as 6 meters. The 4 million residents either living along coastlines or other at-risk areas were told to evacuate. This is why rescuers and troops are on full alert in the country's north. With a massive rain cloud band 900 kilometers wide, combined with seasonal monsoon rains, authorities expect an aftermath of landslides and flash floods. President Rodrigo Duterte has already admitted he's willing to seek international help if needed.
It would depend on the severity of the crisis. If it flattens everything, maybe we need to have some help. And if there are countries who are well-meaning, pero wala pa naman, it's too early to speculate.
Jameson Wong, TVB News.
Welcome to our lounge. Enjoy your stay.
Thanks very much.
Find calm in over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. It's another way we've got your back. The Platinum Card from American Express. Don't live life without it.
Welcome back. Retired police superintendent Frank Lee Chu will continue his 3-month jail term after losing his appeal today. Our Sharon Tang has more.
4 years ago, during the Occupy protests in Mongkok, the former officer hit a bystander with a baton while on duty. He was later convicted of assault occasioning actual bodily harm and was given 3 months in jail. But Zhu only served 16 days in prison before he was released on bail for the appeal on his conviction and sentence. Today, the 58-year-old appeared at the High Court. The judge said the court understood that police officers may apply force to another person lawfully for self-defense or prevention of crime. Although Chu stated that the bystander Osman Cheng led him to believe that he and his colleagues were under a threatened attack, the court disagreed that he honestly believed so. The judge noted that Cheng was working steadily without exhibiting any hostility towards any police officers at the time. Still, Cheng was hit on his back. That force to the court was neither technical nor trivial, and the pain he suffered was neither trifling nor transitory. The judge also mentioned Chu's failure to meet a reasonable expectation from the community of what a senior police officer should do and not do. While the court dismissed his appeal and ordered Chu to serve the remainder of his sentence in jail, his lawyer vowed to continue the legal battle. Sharon Tang, TVB News.
Also at the High Court, the defence lawyer for the medical professor accused of killing his wife and daughter said their deaths were an accident. He also argued there was no reason for the defendant to kill the pair. Christy Long reports.
The deaths were an accident. That's what the defense told the court while summing up the case. The former medical professor was charged with killing his wife and daughter in 2015. He was accused of putting a yoga ball filled with carbon monoxide in his wife's car. The defense lawyer questioned why the defendant suddenly needed to kill his wife. He argued the couple had already reconciled over his love affairs with the student. The couple also lived under the same roof for the sake of their children. The lawyer added that at least 12 people from the university knew the defendant had bought carbon monoxide. He even discussed the experiment with a colleague through text messages on the day of the incident. The lawyer said Cole wouldn't have left a paper trail if he came up with a cunning way to kill the pair. The lawyer said his 16-year-old daughter Lily was told the gas in the ball could be used as pesticide. He said she could have used the ball to kill pests in the car without telling her mother. The lawyer said Cole was morally responsible for the pair's death as he brought the yoga ball home. However, he reminded the jury that there is huge difference between foolishly acted and intentionally killed.
In view of the approaching typhoon, the courts will resume on Tuesday instead of Monday, where the judge will then sum up the case and guide the jury. Christy Lung, TVB News.
The day has come for the Hong Kong National Party to explain to the government why it shouldn't be banned. Back in July, authorities announced they would look into a ban on the pro-independence party for national security reasons. The Security Bureau has granted an extension on its deadline 3 times since then. The party's convener, Andy Chan, hasn't submitted any reply just yet.
Starting tomorrow, it will be easier for Hong Kong travellers to enter Thailand. Hong Kong SAR passport holders can take advantage of self-service e-channels at Bangkok's 2 main airports, but only visitors who stay in Thailand for fewer than 30 days can use the e-channels.
World leaders and international dignitaries gathered in Ghana to pay their last respects to former United Nations chief Kofi Annan. He died in Switzerland last month at the age of 80. Annan was honored with a state funeral in the Ghanaian capital of Accra. Those in attendance, including leaders from across Africa, lauded him as an exceptional man and leader. He was the grandson of tribal chiefs and was the first black African to become the leader of the world body. Annan and the UN shared the 2001 Nobel Peace Prize. They won it for their efforts to reform the UN and give priority to human rights issues. And from all of us, thanks for joining.